I think this girl is garbage. Hello my lovelies and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be a completely different one to everything else that I've ever filmed. I believe so, at least. Well, it's sort of like along the lines of questions and answers, except that I'm not answering your questions about me. I'm answering your questions about you. I know. Well, let me get straight into it. I posted on my Instagram, in case you don't follow me on Instagram, my Instagram account name is Tamara. I posted that I will be answering some of the dilemmas or questions you might be having in your personal life. All of the questions will be absolutely anonymous, so I will not be reading any names, etc. I just wanted to see if I could perhaps help you by using my own experiences in life to kind of like solve or give you an outside opinion on something that you're going through. The reason why I think this video could be useful is because actually I'm not like emotionally involved and I don't have anything out of giving you an advice. You know, like sometimes when you ask friends or people that are immediately around you, they might be a little bit subjective. They might have their own opinions and they might even have their own agendas in what you're gonna do. So I just thought it could be quite useful to have an outsider opinion, and it might actually help many more than just the people in question, because sometimes we're able to relate to other people's problems much more than we think we would. So because I think this video is going to be very long, I was reading your questions whole day long yesterday and your problems, and honestly, as an empath, I started feeling really like the weight of some of the problems, and I started like really thinking about them. And all I can say is that you never know what somebody else is going through in life, you know? It's just like everybody has problems and everybody's going through something. So I really do hope that this video will be helpful. I'm not gonna go any further. If you're new to this channel, my name is Tamara. Do make sure to subscribe to my channel because my community is the best community, filled with wonderful people. So let's now talk about them. Again, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Video is going to be very long, so we're either gonna split it in two parts, depending if you guys like the first part already, or we'll see. Let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see, and if you do like this kind of video, then, you know, let's do some more of it, right? Wow. Okay, this is a good one. So I'm happily married and just had a baby boy. My husband was once engaged and he had been in a relationship with this woman for many years. But things didn't work out and he ended it. We met a few months later. We're married now, but his ex has continued to meddle with our relationship. She showed up to our brunch and just sat at a table and watched us. When we got engaged, she called my sister-in-law asking why he got over her and how he could marry someone else. She's friends with his family, cousins, friends, etc. It seems like I can't really escape her. She knows everything about us. He's blocked her on everything and he's assured me that she's in the past, but I'm not very confident with myself. I don't know what to do. I just want to live a happy life with my husband and raise our baby, but she's always there. I need help. It's a tough one, especially when there are some crazy people. I personally think that your husband seems like a good guy. He seems like he's your best friend and he's the person you should be talking to. You should really tell him that your main concern is the fact that this person is constantly trying to go around you and is bad-mouthing you. Clearly, if she's asking like, how could he marry her, like blah blah blah, she's clearly still interested, and it's not a threat to your marriage, but there's simply a lot of crazy people around there, you know, like your marriage seems rock solid, and you know, when something is solid, there's never a third person that can ruin it. That's one thing I want to say to everybody. When something is like good, that's it. Nobody, no temptation could like ruin it. For me, I always say this, like there's a lot of things that like every relationship has, you know, like a lot of problems and a lot of things, right? Like that's how relationships work. But for me personally, one thing about my relationship is that even if like, I don't know, like Brad Pitt or Orlando Bloom would be hitting on me, I'd be like, I'm so sorry, I have a boyfriend. And I'm very much like that, and I know that my partner is very much like that, that there's not ever gonna be a third person that could ruin our relationship. Maybe something else could, you know, ruin our relationship, but a third person not, because at the moment our relationship is so strong, like rock solid. So what you need to ask yourself is, why are you not confident? Is it that you feel that your relationship is not rock solid? Or is it that you're just not comfortable with this person being around because you think she's crazy? Because if this person starts having tendencies of like stalking you and staring at you like you have expressed in that message, you potentially could even tell your husband that you really feel uncomfortable and unsafe around her and that you think she's crazy, and maybe even take a legal action, because this kind of behavior that you have expressed in that message is not normal. This other woman, I mean, I don't know her, like, you know, we all wish her the best, but somewhere far. So she needs to move on with her life, I think, and she needs to understand that there's absolutely no space there for her. So your husband's family and him needs to make it very clear. I feel like it's tricky if some of the people are friends with her, but they should also know that not to invite her to events and gatherings when you and your husband will be there. I think that's like just the basic respect. So it's a lot of talking for you to do. I'm a fellow Pisces, love your style, courage and inner strength. You're amazing. My question, I'm a newly qualified counselor and I was given the opportunity to start private practice in a clinic much earlier than I anticipated. How do I get over my nerves and imposter syndrome? Okay, you need to start one step at a time. It's very scary to start new things, doesn't matter what it is. If you're starting your dissertation, or you're starting a new job, or you're starting a new relationship, whatever you're starting, you have to start just one step at a time. So you're not gonna start like building an empire in one day. You're gonna start by opening the door to the practice. So you just, when you're very nervous about something, you need to just break it down into very little steps. When something is really blocking you, you're like, okay, so I'm just gonna try. If the nerves are so strong that you just don't know if you can handle it, you need to ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen, right? So what's the worst thing that can happen? You're not ready for this and the whole practice fails, right? That's the worst thing that can happen. And you're young, and you will be young with a failure under your belt, but you know what? You will have a huge, massive learning curve and experience, and people who are gonna be like, I don't know, like older than you will be starting their first practice, but you will already have one experience. Actually, it doesn't even sound like the worst possible outcome. To me, it just sounds like a great school no matter what. And I think the imposter syndrome, how people get rid of it is by success. So the more success you have, the more you will understand that that's where you belong, and that actually, why would you have an imposter syndrome? So just think about this. When I graduated as a pharmacist, I started working in a pharmacy, and even there I had like so many situations where I was 23. Can you imagine being a 23-year-old pharmacist? Like, or 22, I don't even know. I would have patients come and say like, hi, I would like to speak to the pharmacist, and then my technician would come and bring me out, and I'd say like, how can I help you? And they're like, no, I asked to speak to the pharmacist. And then I'd be like, yeah, that's me. And they would tell me, no, I mean someone senior, not you. So I had like so many times situations where people would just tell me, based on my looks or where I come from or age, kind of like, you cannot be good enough, you know? Even though at the time, to be honest, once you've just graduated and once you've just done like the whole kind of like big experience, like a year of experience, you get a hospital experience, community doctor experience, you get like so much experience in that 1 year, in the first year, that you actually are like buzzing with knowledge, you know? I was like being constantly doubted. And you know what makes you more like lose this imposter syndrome? Proving yourself to your own team that you have, that you're like a person that's very stable, that's very rational, and also to your patients in this occasion. And then later on, just to kind of like round it up, I went from pharmacy to fashion, right? So I started fashioning. I started my fashion blog, and this brought first opportunities, first events. I remember, I'll never forget this. I was doing like a late shift at the hospital. I was doing a placement in A&E, and I was basically going from A&E to an event where I was like overhearing people discussing just which shoes they're gonna wear in Milan Fashion Week and how that was their biggest problem of their life. And I was thinking, oh my God, I wish that was my problem. I literally have to get on the train, go back, sleep, and in the morning go back to A&E ward. So it's like I felt like this big, I don't belong here, this is not my world, like on a completely different level, not just because I was not ready, but because like everybody that I was speaking to was a graphic designer or a fashion designer or a fashion major or a marketing student or graduate, you know, and I was like, I'm a pharmacist. And I always felt like they're thinking, you're a pharmacist, what do you know about fashion? Why are you even here? But over the years, I proved myself in a way. So I was working harder than anybody else. And I remember so clearly telling my dad, because I'm a pharmacist, I need to work way more than someone who's a fashion marketing graduate, because I need to learn all of those things that they've learned at university, plus what we're learning through this kind of new career, right, of like a fashion blogger, influencer, etc. And it's true, I just had to work double shift to prove myself, to prove that I'm worthy, because at the beginning, when you don't know anything, which I didn't know anything, you just have to work double shifts to prove yourself, to prove that you want to learn, and you have to be the first one in the office, the last one leaving, until you have proved yourself and learned everything. Once you've learned everything, you will also have the respect of everybody else, and I feel like imposter syndrome will be gone. So my boyfriend is in Qatar, he's coming back today, we're leaving on a holiday tomorrow, which is why I'm filming in this guest bedroom, by the way. Our house is a mess because at the same time we're building our wardrobes, so this is the only place I could film, and he just put the cameras on to like check where in the house I am, because I was not answering the phone because I'm filming, and he understood that there's a suitcase by the door which I haven't unpacked from my trip yesterday, and he's like, have you already packed for Capri? No. Anyway, basically in one of the next videos you'll probably see my new wardrobe, which makes me so excited. They are building everything tomorrow, I think. Okay, next question. Hi Tamara, just love your confidence. Confidence in work, in business, in relationship, in love. Just tell me how to be that confident girl as you are. I think confidence comes with experience, when you really understand who you are. I can't say I had the same confidence when I was a teenager, but there's one thing that I have to say. I was always very comfortable with who I am, always. Like, there's never been a time that I was like hiding who I am, where I'm from, what are my talents, what's my degree, what's my, you know, like I know that every little thing that I did in my life, everything, like, I mean, even the most basic thing that you might think in your life, like when I was 10, I sang in a choir, okay, like completely irrelevant to this point. Even that little thing made sense in my life to who I am today. And that's what builds confidence, I think. There's still few things that I need to work on myself, and I'm very aware on what it is. Like, I need to value myself more and say no when it's something that I don't want to do in a private life. In like a work life, I'm very good. Like I have way more work than I need to. I feel like very comfortable with where I am in my career. But when it comes to personal life, I need to value myself more and say no more to people, because people often have agendas, right? So that's something I need to learn. But how to get confidence is, I would say, get out there, get experience. The more experience you have, the more knowledge you have, the more confident you'll be. That's just as it is. But if you feel like it's something a bit deeper, caused by a parent or a bad experience that is causing you really not to be confident enough, like, or at all, it's something that I would definitely speak to a therapist about, because I think that in today's day and age, going to a therapist is like a brain hygiene, you know, like washing your brain, like you wash your hair. So it's as simple as that. Next one. Hi Tamara, I have just graduated from UCL. I've lived alone abroad, but now I have to move again for work, finance, to Paris, and I don't know if it's what I want. I also don't know anyone here, and I mean, I know I want to do something else, but how did you find the strength and courage to leave pharmacy after having studied for it and do something different? I'd love to work in your industry too, and I just don't know how to get started. Thank you for your help. I adore you, sending good vibes and some other compliments, but let's not toot my own horn. It's about you guys today. So, very frequent question. I think that 80% of the questions that I've received and dilemmas were, I graduated, it's not something I want to do, I don't know what to do. Now, it's not something I want to do would be a very simple question, change your profession. You know, you just graduated. I'm sure this girl is young. But I think I don't know what to do is a little bit of a bigger problem. It means that you still need to do many things. So I'll go back to my example. When I was 14 in Serbia, we had to fill out this form saying which high school you want to go to. So if you don't know really what you want to do later on in life, but you know you're gonna study at university, you go to something called like a general high school, where you have like 17 subjects in school and you learn about everything: history, biology, geography, maths, physics, chemistry, everything. And to be honest, you have a very good knowledge about everything, but about nothing specific. So I did not know what I wanted to do later on because I was 14. Who can know? How can you know? It's absolutely unrealistic that at 14 you can know what you want to do unless you're like an exceptional talent at something, which I was not. So I went to this general school and I was very good at it because I immediately figured out how the system works, you know? The school was never a problem for me. So at the end, when I was 18 and I was graduating this high school, I had all A's in every subject. So in maths, chemistry, biology, physics, but also in geography, history, psychology, and I don't know, like PE, you know? Like I had all A's. And usually you can kind of tell which subject you love more than the other. I just really liked biology, for example, but I was like, I'm not gonna study biology. I didn't know what I was gonna study at all. And in my fourth year of high school, I really wanted a first job. I had this kind of like entrepreneurial thing inside of me. I don't know what it was. I didn't have to work, but I really wanted to earn my own money. Like it was so strong inside of me. So I got a job in a supermarket being a promoter of a coffee. Okay, that was my first job. Coffee, I love it. So it's actually a job of passion, to be honest. I was like 17, let's say. Yeah, and I'll never forget, like I was basically in this huge supermarket. I was so proud that I had the job because it was not really something that was done and I was so good at it. Like it was crazy. I was selling so much coffee because I was basically like promoting coffee and I was so good at making sales. That's when I realized that I'm good at doing sales because we were like 3 girls and I was always making the most sales. So I was like, you know, wow, I'm like very comfortable talking to strangers. In a supermarket, it's quite tough. You have to stop a person and say like, hi, like, how are you today? Can I present you this? Do you want to try a coffee? Blah, 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 you know? It's not like the most comfortable job if you're like, for example, a very shy person. But that's why you should probably try and do it to get out of that comfort zone of speaking to strangers. Then I was like having a year of hell. It's probably the worst year of my life was when I was kind of like between 17 and 18, my 4th year of high school, because I had this big pressure of not knowing what I'm gonna do. I wanted to study medicine or pharmacy or dentistry. I told my mom that I want to study fashion design because it was like a fearful wish. It was a wish. It was something I really wanted to do, but I was really scared to admit because I felt I would be judged and I felt that my parents would say like, lol. And also because I come from a very highly medicinally educated traditional family where my parents were like, they were very understanding and very not judging, except when it comes to education. Like they were always surrounded by all of these like extremely highly educated people, doctors, scientists, etc. So me coming home saying like, hi, I want to study fashion design, I just knew they would think that I'm ridiculous. And they did think that I was ridiculous. So when I told my parents what I wanted to study, my mom, who's like the best mom in the world, said, I know you're very creative, but you know, you cannot even draw really, which is true. And she was like, and I know you're super creative and you are talented, but like we cannot even send a portfolio to these schools, you know, like I wanted to study abroad. And she was like, do you really like want, you know, like I just don't see it really happening and you'll get disappointed and you're very sensitive. So I was like, you're right. And that's what just left my brain. So I was like, you know what, because I don't really want to study anything else, I'm just gonna go for pharmacy. Everybody in my family is pharmacist and I was like, this just makes sense, you know, I'll just do it and then I'll figure out in my life what I'm gonna do, but at least I will have a safe option in a drawer, right? Like a safe option is always good for a woman, because my mom especially, but also my dad, They always taught me that no matter what, I have to be independent. I can never depend on a man because I need to have my own piece of bread, and that's all that matters. In order to be a confident woman, you have to have your own thing. So I went abroad. In this year, why I said it was a year of hell, I was working as a coffee promoter. I was going to high school. I also was going for like a prep school for university because I did not know if I will get in university in England, because you know, you always need a plan B, right? So I was going to prep medicine school in Novi Sad, which is where I'm from. Like they had like a medicine and pharmacy prep classes throughout the year. So every weekend I was going there. Then I was doing like, you know, I went at 17, like driving lessons at that time. I was doing my English classes because in case I do go to England, I had to prepare for IELTS exam. And I was doing German intense classes because my other option was to go to Austria to study in Vienna, medicine or pharmacy, I don't know, but my dad really wanted me to go to Vienna because he just wanted to know that like I'm close enough for him to drive. You know what I mean? It's different when you go to England. So I had like a very, very, very intense year, and I just couldn't figure out who I was, but I was figuring out what I was bad at and what I was good at. And I understood that I was good with people, but I was kind of bad with certain like aspects of what I was not interested in. Eventually, I got abroad, I went to England, and in the first year, I think I submitted 500 CVs. I started my university. I realized that in the first week of university, I realized that I don't understand anything that's going on. I did not understand one thing. The first day I arrived, 18-year-old, coming from Serbia, it was not a lesson, it was just like an intro class, was the fire. You know, when you study pharmacy, obviously there's labs all over. So you have to learn about the fire hazard, what to do if there's a fire in the lab, what to dispose where. Let me tell you, we never even had a lab in Serbia in high school. It was the first time that I was like talking about fire escape in 2000 and I don't know, what year was it? 7, yeah. And I sat there and I realized the barrier was not a language barrier, it was completely different world barrier. So I realized that I need to understand, like I need to put myself in 6th gear and start learning faster than anybody else to kind of get to understand even who I am in this world of confusion. So then I wanted to get a job. Like once I kind of figured out university, I wanted to get a job. I submitted more than 500 CVs in every single shop there was. I got invited to one interview, which was at Claire's Accessories. I'm sure you guys know that accessory shop. And I didn't get a job and I kept submitting CVs. And then in April, so let's say I started my first year in September, and in April of my first year, I saw that my university was searching for student ambassadors, which was for the when I come to my 2nd year, I would be an ambassador to all the new students, especially international ones, show them around the campus. You know, like in movies when new students come and then someone brings them to like library, this is the library, this cafeteria, this is a campus for, I don't know, computer sciences, this is a campus for pharmacy, this is the campus for law. So you bring people around, you take them out, etc. and you help them. And it was a very well paid job, but you had to pass like all of these kind of tests. They had to understand that you're obviously like a normal person, that you're not a racist, that, you know, like all of these things that you have to do when you have like a lot of international students coming. You have to prepare to welcome them, to be friendly. So I passed with flying colors all of these exams that I can work with people, especially vulnerable people, because when someone comes to a new country, they're very vulnerable, especially at like age of 17 or 18. So this was my first job in the UK, and because it was with university, they were very gentle in terms of like they helped me understand how things work, how to get in, etc. And I understood that, okay, I got my first job. It took me a year, but I got my first job. After I got that first job, I got many other jobs. I had the idea that I really wanted to work in hotels. So I got a job in a Hilton hotel and I hated it. Okay, I hated it because I understood it was not at all what I thought it was. In my head, it was so amazing. You work in a hotel, you see all of these people traveling, coming in, leaving, glamorous life of a beautiful hotel. In fact, all it was people telling me that they did not take the chocolate from minibar and me taking it off their bill. all the time. Me asking them, would you like a wake-up call? Would you like newspaper? Would you like a wake-up call? Would you like newspaper? Etc. And honestly, I was like, I didn't like it. I understood immediately I didn't like that job. So I was like, you know what? This is not at all what I thought it was. I do not want to work in hospitality. Then I got a job in a clothing shop. We're talking about Abercrombie and Hollister. This was, I think, towards my third year. In my second year, I also got a pharmacy job, which was my summer placement job. I didn't like it that much, but I was very good at it. I didn't like being in a pharmacy all day long, but I liked working at the till because you just get to see, because obviously I was not a pharmacist, I was a pharmacy student. I had the most basic job there is in the pharmacy. I was working at the till, greeting people as they come in, take their prescription and pass it along to where the technician and the pharmacist were working on them. So I started from the very, very bottom. I was like pulling shelves and cleaning floors and things like that. That actually was my favorite part of the job, pulling shelves and cleaning floors, let me just tell you. But I understood that I'm good at it because I was very good with people. As people would come in, they would sometimes ask for me because they didn't want to speak to like socially awkward people. They wanted to speak to me and say like, hey, like I have this problem, can you help me? And I was always like very non-judgmental. So I understood that I was good with people. That was like a first thing, right? Then I had this very, like I told you at the beginning, entrepreneurial thing going through me. I wanted to make money. I did not know how. So in like my third year, I asked my best friend, Cynthia. I had like quite a few best friends at uni, but like I asked Cynthia, who's Nigerian and who also had this business entrepreneurial, vibe. I asked her if she also wanted to start her own business. And she said, yes, I really want to start my own business. She said, I realized that polo t-shirts in US, she was in the US for holidays, are like so much cheaper. I want to bring them here. I want to sell them. I want to do them. And I was like, I also want to do something. So I went on eBay at the time and I bought a huge lot of designer denim because denim was very trendy at the time. It was like a kind of wholesale price, so it was much cheaper, and I wanted to then resell it in pieces. I failed, miserably failed, because I was good with people and at selling, but what I didn't realize is that I just didn't know how to do this digitally, how to do it online, how to list all of these pieces, I had to get so much more experience in researching how it actually works. So this was like a big failure for me. Okay, then I got a job in a shop, Abercrombie and Hollister, and it was my favorite job ever. I absolutely loved it. I met a lot of friends there. I made a lot of friends there. It was a very healthy environment inside for me. I know there's a Netflix documentary at the moment stating like completely otherwise, but I really enjoyed it because, I don't know, in England it was not like, I never felt like a piece of meat working there. My managers could see that I just wanted more work and more money because I needed money, and I was getting like all kind of shifts I could. I was trading shifts. I was getting like, I just wanted to get more work. When they would tell me like, like how huge is the stockroom? I never worked at the stockroom, but I would ask them, do you need someone to tidy the whole stockroom? I would do it. It would take like 2 shifts because the stockroom is like huge. I was like, it would take 2 shifts, so I'll work the whole day and I would get it like all organized for you, all color coded, all coded, because each little t-shirt has a code and you have to scan each piece with HTC device to do like stock count and to tidy it. And they were like, yeah, nobody wants to do this. Like, it's like the most hated job. I was like, no, it's my favorite job. I'm with my thoughts in like shelves. Nobody's like, talking to me and I'm organizing stuff. So I loved it. And that's when I realized that I'm also not scared to work. Like, I'm hardworking. I'm good with people. My managers always loved me, like wherever I worked. But I didn't have, like, I knew I had the entrepreneurial thing in me, but I didn't have the thing to work independently. I didn't know how to work independently. I didn't know how to, when I buy stuff, to sell stuff, how to work for myself. So I knew how to work very well for someone else who will then praise me and tell me that I'm good, but I didn't know how to do this. Anyway, the reason why I'm telling you this very long story is because by the time I was 21 and I graduated, I graduated in 2011, so I was 22 when I graduated. I knew exactly what I didn't want, and I knew exactly what I wanted. When I graduated, I got a full-time position at Abercrombie, the Hollister shop, and they offered me to be a manager. And I said, I have I'm going to do my pre-reg now as a pharmacist, which is a year of pharmacy, and I already have a job lined up. So I did a year of pre-reg, which is before you become a pharmacist, you are working in a pharmacy every single day. You can take maximum, I think, 10 days off in a year because you have to be learning in the pharmacy. You do a placement in the hospital, like I said. Mine was very interesting and various different wards. You do community doctors placement, and I worked in a very busy pharmacy with very long opening hours from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. And I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but in pharmacy in England, you cannot sit ever throughout the day, never. You're standing on your feet from 8 to 7. And the excruciating pain that I had in the first 2 months in my heels, in my back, in my legs, the cramps at night, were just a little, cherry on the cake when you actually are also doing something that you're not really enjoying. So in this 1 year, I understood yet again that I'm really good with people. My managers were always giving me flying marks with working with people, assisting customers, talking to them, making a very angry customer very pleased and happy, and doing everything I can for them. I was very good at problem solving. I could find a solution for every, a prescription got lost or the medicine didn't get ordered, we don't have it. I would call every single pharmacy in area to find a medicine. I was always very going an extra mile to solve a problem, but I was very bad at two things. Number one, worst thing ever, was delegation, which is telling other people what to do. And at this point, when you're a pharmacist and a manager, you do have to tell people what to do. So I was very bad at that. Even if I had to disperse a little, antibiotic mixture for a child, and usually people would ask a technician to do it because you just need to measure, 82 milliliters of water, I would do it myself instead of asking someone else to do it. And I was very bad at assertiveness. So I was not very this needs to be done now, I was not very clear and assertive in being a manager. So that was kind of my takeaway. I took 3 years working in a pharmacy, which I have to say across England in 80% of cases is a very toxic environment, because usually you have kind of a team with a technician, with a person working at the till, with a supervisor, with a manager, a pharmacist, or something. Very often a pharmacist and the manager at the same time, which was my case. You have, a lot of people of different ages. So I would have to be a boss of a 60-year-old lady that's worked there for 40 years, and I just came there for 3 years. And I had to deal with a lot of toxicity, attitude, and telling a 60-year-old lady that's worked there for 40 years that she made a mistake or that's not how it's done was very hard. Now, again, I'm coming back to why I'm telling you all this. All of these experiences, every single one of them, including the one at the hotel, that was very short, helped me understand my strengths and helped me improve some things that I knew I was bad at, like delegation and assertiveness. And they all helped me be successful at my job today. So, I even left out some jobs. I'm realizing I worked at the fair, I worked, I did a lot of things, a lot of different things. And they all helped me get to understand what I want to do and what I don't want to do, which seems like is your problem. You don't know what you want to do. So you finish finance. What I would do if I just graduated and I was being offered a job, I would take it both-handedly. I would try and become the best I can at that job. And in the meanwhile, I would use the funds from that job to help me towards my passion, to understand what I can do. Because the biggest problem in fashion at the moment is that it's a highly competitive industry. Let's say that pretty much every girl wants to work in fashion. So the salaries in fashion are actually not that great until you reach a certain level. But to reach a certain level, you have to actually get a lot of experience, which is quite unfair, but it's a rule of supply and demand, right? So in order to get the experience, I would have a job, a stable job where I feel financially independent, which is what pharmacy was for me. It was providing me a salary, and pretty much every weekend and every lunch break, I was building my social media, I was building my CV, I was going to events, I was using up all of my pharmacy holidays to go to fashion weeks, which at the time were completely funded by me. And that really helped me build up a CV until I started getting paid offers from the fashion world. Many of you know that at the very beginning, I kind of understood the vision that I wanted to work with luxury brands, and usually they're the ones that come last. You first get money offers from not so luxury brands, and I think that it's very important to know when to say no because something is not part of your path, and to say yes to the right things. So in order to be able to say no to money when it just feels good, you need to have some money right on the side, because if you cannot pay your rent, and I don't know, kind of company that you don't even like, their ethos is offering you money, it's hard to say no. So that's what I would do. I would just get as much experience as possible if you can. You know, like, I'm very much against working for free. I never have people work for me for free, even as like people who need to learn, but you need to learn, like you need to learn how to do stuff. And if someone is paying you to do a job in fashion, but you don't know how to do it, they'd be thinking, why would I pay someone that doesn't know how to do anything? So you need to learn stuff, and you need to learn in your free time, but you need to afford to be able to learn by having another job. That is how I did it. And it does sound a little bit tough, but I think this answers like 85% of your questions when you don't know what to do after your studies and you think you don't want to do what you've studied for. You need to try, and you need to try not just one branch of that industry. You need to try out different branches. When I understood that I didn't like the community pharmacy life, and I understood that hospital pharmacy was not for me, I thought that maybe I want to work in marketing of pharmacy because I liked marketing. I never tried it. Who knows, maybe I would have been good at it. But there is something about pharmacy that I know I love. I really do. And I think even now that I haven't practiced for many years, I think I'm still pretty good at it because I have like a feeling for it, you know, I have something for it. I just didn't like my everyday 9 to 5, so called, even though it was 8 to 7. But the point is that you just need to find a branch that you like by trying different branches. And the younger you start trying, the younger you will understand what you want and what you don't want. You will find the thing. You just need to, you cannot stay in one path for too long if you don't like it. That is my takeaway from this. I feel like you guys will hate this video because I'm talking so much. And I literally answered like 3 questions. It's just terrible. I just like opened a question which was saying I would like to work in fashion but I cannot afford it. How to start, how to afford the brand. Again, if you really want it and you know you really want it, do your standard job and make a plan. Sit down and say, okay, for 5 years I will be doing this, and I will start in the weekends doing my fashion thing on the side, just to build the knowledge, the experience. In fashion, when I look at the CV, the most important thing is what person knows, not what they studied. So if I looked at someone finished like fashion marketing, I'm like, okay, but can you use Photoshop? Can you use video editing apps? Can you know, like, do you know how things work? That's the most important thing. And that's the kind of knowledge you need to build if you want to work in this industry, because at the end of the day, it is a creative industry. Let's answer a question to a guy. I had a girlfriend up until 2020. We were together for 4 years and we were already talking about marriage and our long-term plans. However, due to her family disapproving of me, she has decided to call it quits, so we broke up in May 2020. I was heartbroken, but at the same time, I don't want her to end up being in bad relationship with her parents. So I accepted the situation and we broke up amicably, thinking we had to break up due to her parents not liking me. However, recently I found out that that was not the reason we broke up at all. I found out from her family that she has been seeing someone else while we were together. She was cheating on me throughout and lied to me about it. I feel like I've been taken for granted and treated like a fool. I've moved on from her, but I can't help to feel like I should tell her that I know what she did and how I felt about the whole situation. Do you think it is advisable for me to tell her that? Wow. Okay, I think this girl is garbage. But that's just me, because I highly disapprove of any kind of infidelity, I guess. Not highly disapprove, like I'm so traditional. Like, people have their reasons. One thing that you should know, and that all of my friends know, is that I never judge, because people, you never know the story, right? But for you, this person has completely lied to you, mistreated you, and I think like she just doesn't really care about you, because you do not lie and cheat on a person you care about. So by telling her that you know, you won't really achieve anything. She just doesn't even, like deserve. The only thing that you might do is give yourself some closure. Now the question is this something that is bothering you every single day, and you feel like there's an itch you need to scratch? If you feel like there's an itch that you need to scratch, like desperately, I would do it. Go for it. There's nothing to lose. You just then, after you've done it, you have to say the book is closed and now I need to move on. This person doesn't exist for me anymore. If you feel like this is not really itch that you need to scratch, you should already move on. But if it's really bothering you, I would definitely then send a very nice message saying, listen, thank you so much for everything that we had in the last 4 years. I appreciate it. Unfortunately, I found out that what the real reason of our breakup was after a while, and it made me understood what kind of person you are. Wish you all the best in your future, but please do not ever contact me again or try to be in touch. Wish you the best. Goodbye. Then you block this person everywhere so that they can never reach you again, and you move on with your life by meeting better, more quality people, okay? Because in relationships, the most important thing is, I think, trust. And this person clearly will never have it, no matter where they go. I work at family business that my parents made 30 years ago, and I'm very proud of it. And I don't think that is what I want to do. And one of my passions is cooking, but I don't know how to begin something with it. Maybe still finding the right thing, what to do in life, but don't know how to find it. You see, a lot of these kind of questions. Just keep trying. I actually do believe you might be a great advice giver. Been watching your videos for years, and I love to see how beautiful you've grown. Very inspiring. Even though I'm in a different career path, medical, it is so amazing and fascinating to be inspired by strong, intelligent, hardworking women. Thank you. My dilemma is in situationship with the person that I know for 10 years, and there always were feelings, but it never works out. We reunited after 3 years of not talking, and it's the same all over again. Amazing time together, the connection, the passion, everything is right there, but he still does not try to commit. Even though this whole situation is so toxic and does break my heart, time after time, he is a good, intelligent person, literally could be a man of my dreams. Could be. I'm almost 28, he's the same age, and things changed so much since our first fling, but the attraction, both physical and emotional, never fade away. I'm so lost, as one side of me keeps saying that you should never give up for the people and things you love, but other side of me and my friends say that it's time to move on and let go this relationship forever. This situation worsening fact is that he also lives abroad, and we only meet 3-4 times when he's back home. Although I don't think this is the reason all of this does not work. I do believe things happen when they are supposed to happen, and I should not be scared of getting older and having no partner to share my life. But everybody keeps saying to me that my situationship stops me from other opportunities. I tend not to agree as I go out and ready to meet new people, as I'm sane and understand the situationship is not relationship. Okay, so very, very clear to me. First of all, your friends are right. When you have someone on your mind, even if you're not in relationship, this person is definitely blocking the door from you meeting other people. And I know that because I had many long-term relationships, but I never cheated on my partners, because honestly, when people would ask me like, oh my God, you go to all of these events, you must meet so many men. Honestly, no. Because when you have someone on your mind, the other people, they don't even need to ask you, do you have someone? You just appear and you seem unavailable. There's so much difference between a woman that is fully available when she enters a restaurant or a club or whatever, and a woman that is clearly unavailable. I don't know what it is, but I feel like there could be a book written about this. Even if you're suffering and you're going like through a breakup, so you're technically free, but you have a person on your mind, it's very obvious on you until the day that you're available. There is that kind of like Sex and the City episode where they talk about the taxi light, you know, when you see a free taxi, like available taxi. It's kind of similar to women, I would say. When you're available, you just have that light on. And when you're unavailable, the light is off, even if it's just mentally. That's the first thing I would like to say. The second thing I would like to say is, what does it really mean he does not want to commit? Does it mean that you guys are just having a thing? Does it mean he has other women? Or does it mean you're in a relationship but he does not want to get married? Now, I think that in every relationship, there's a compromise that two people need to make. Both sides have to make compromise. You know, you just need to understand what is the compromise you're willing to take and make, and what are the things you're not willing to make a compromise on. Now, you're saying that this relationship is very toxic, and that's a big red flag for me. If this relationship is toxic, if he's not willing to commit, he's not that great guy. He's not your dream man. I dated a guy for 1.5 years. We were in a relationship. I didn't date him. I was in a relationship with a guy that I'm still kind of friends with, like friendly with. We still see each other, ran into him. Even my current boyfriend met him, like it doesn't matter. Who was kind of perfect on a paper. He was educated, very intelligent. We would have these deep conversations. He was very like emotional like me. So we had these like kind of grandiose things that are like sort of important to me. I love these, like he's like, I'm taking you out to a place tonight and I will not tell you where it is, and get dressed, be ready at 9, things like that, like leaving me notes, like very, very interesting, very intense relationship. We would like travel together until I realized that actually he just is not ready to commit to like a real woman, to a real person, to someone that is strong and is not just there for the fun part, and is not just there for like wonderful trips and amazing experiences. I wanted the real life. I wanted him to open up, to tell me his problems. I wanted to share things with him. I wanted to share life with him. And then all of a sudden I realized that we have such a like kind of dream life together, which is so fake, that we ended up obviously breaking up. And I realized that it was the most dreamy seeming relationship to me, that now from the distance I see this guy just has issues with commitment that he needs to solve before entering anything else. Some people's problems should not be your problem, you know? That's how it is. So my answer to you is, first of all, sit down with him and say, listen, I would like to speak to you. As much as we have this incredible thing together and it feels so good and I feel like you are my person, I don't think I'm your person, because what I want and what you want might be a little bit different. I want something a bit deeper, more meaningful, more committed, and you just want someone to be there when you need them and when it works for you. I appreciate you and I respect you, and I think you're a wonderful person, but not for me. So maybe it's best to not stand in my door and to let someone else get in there. You're only 28. The time is not ticking, okay? There's time. I met my boyfriend when I was like 30, I think. Yeah, so you know what I mean. Yeah, so that's basically my thoughts on this topic. I think this guy is just gonna be very toxic and waste your time. And you're already saying he's toxic, so there is no question. My dilemma is that I really would like to go back in London, but my boyfriend wants to stay in Vienna because his family is there and he works there. We have a small baby, 8 months, and although I know that Vienna is a kids-friendly city, my heart is still in London. Also, it's much easier to find a flat and make good money or build a career in London. I can't really see myself in Vienna for a long period. I aim to make good money in my life as quick as possible so that I could choose to live wherever I want, but it looks very far in time and I need to find a place to settle with my family now. I'm struggling because I don't know where to settle and I still don't know what to do with my life. I feel like I'm wasting time, and now that I have a kid, I really can't afford that. Wow, I feel you, but I just looked you up and you look very young. What I can tell you is that I think living in different countries, my boyfriend lived in 13 countries in his life. Living in different countries will just bring richness to you as a person, and especially when you're young. I know like that you feel like the time is actually being wasted if you're trying things and they don't work out, but this is not at all true. Like trying things that don't work out, like in my case, which is why I told you that very long story, taught me so many things. You have to try things. You don't want to move away from London. I understand. London is the most amazing city. Isn't there a saying like, if you're tired of London, you're tired of life? I completely agree. But you know when my career really like shut up when I left London, when I went to Paris, when I went to Milan, when I learned so many different things. Like, oh my God, like how much has Paris taught me and how much is Milan teaching me? And do I think this is my forever home? I don't know. I don't even think that far. I think you should tell this to your husband. Say, listen, we are moving because it's your big wish to move to Vienna, and you know I do not want to go there, but that's, you know what, a wife that, like, you know, you're part of like a family now. You have to make a compromise. So you say like, listen, I'm gonna make a compromise there, but if in 2 years time I'm not happy in Vienna, we need to sit down and reconsider also what I want to do and my wishes. I think Vienna is like a wonderful city. It's not as amazing as London, I think. I mean, just, you know, my personal general opinion, but no city is as amazing as London, I think. And there's like everything you need, for sure. I think people are really wonderful. I think that the reason why I'm saying it's not as amazing as London is also because I never lived there. So perhaps you will find a life that you even enjoy more. Perhaps you will find a different career path that you like, and perhaps you will learn another thing. Maybe you will learn a language that you don't speak now, and then you will speak it, and it will help you in your career long term. So I think that at young age, moving a country to another country, even if it turns out to be a big fail, maybe your husband ends up hating it, you know, I think it's a massive lesson. It will build you another flaw. I always say, like, I get like another flaw of personality when I move to another country. You know, I've lived so far in 4 countries in my life. Now, more than 4 countries. Let's say I was born in Bosnia, right? But I think that every other country that you move to gives you another layer. You learn the culture, you learn the people, you learn new skills, you learn a bit of a language, you learn a bit of everything, and it just like broadens your personality, broadens your skill set. It just like, it makes you a bigger person. So my advice is, pack those suitcases, speak to your husband, explain your concern, say, listen, I'm doing this because I want to be part of this family. I want to fight for this family. I want to, okay, listen to your wishes. But if in 2 years time I'm unhappy there, you also need to fight for this family. And you know what? If in 2 years time you're unhappy there, and your husband, who promises you now that he will want to rediscuss this with you, doesn't, he clearly like only cares about himself, which is very hard to sometimes understand. But I think that it's important to see people also in these kind of situations. Like, if my boyfriend would put me in a situation where, obviously it's different, you guys have a kid and are married, etc. But if I would be put in a situation where I don't feel valued, it would be a big wake-up call for me. Currently in my dream job, but too scared to ask for a pay rise. I'm on a minimum wage and I can't afford to save for a house, car, etc. on this wage after university. Now, this is a very interesting topic, asking for a pay rise. This is what I think. You should only ask for a pay rise if the job that you're offering and what you're offering, the skills and the job you're providing, is deserving the pay rise, not because you cannot pay for your bills. Because let me tell you this. So 2 employees, right? One that is delivering way more and like way better job than, it's just hypothetical by the way, way better job than I could ever imagine, deserves a pay rise. And if they ask me for a pay rise, I'd be like 1000% yes. And an employee that comes and tells me, listen, I can't afford my flat, so I need a pay rise, but they literally do not do the job. They just do the bare minimum description of their job. You know, it's very tricky to ask for a pay rise based on your expenses, and it should never work like that, because I could, for example, rent a 10,000 euro per month villa and then tell my employer like, oh, I need a pay rise because I can't afford my mortgage or my lifestyle, and they'd be like, that's not my problem, you know? Now, I'm not saying this is your case, but I'm saying when it comes to asking for a pay rise, the only reason for asking for a pay rise should be, I'm doing more than I'm paid. And what I'm paid, I know that this is not an industry standard. Like, I can like overpay a graphic designer, right? That works for me full time, let's say. But then, is that fair to my other employees? And is that fair also to the industry? Because when this person leaves me, they will never find a job equally paid. So I think that you need to ask around and see if you're being paid a fair wage. And if you are paid less than what you provide, 100% ask for an increase of the wage. And that should be the only reason why you're asking for a pay rise, not an expensive living costs. Because, yeah, that's just what I think. I had two friends who I felt were playing me for a fool, so I cut them from my life, but now I feel like I might have overreacted. Were they your real friends? Like, how did it end? What kind of overreacting? It really depends, but I think that if they were your real friends, 1000% worth talking to them and explaining how you feel. And if they just say like, listen, we don't care about you anymore, like you're blah blah blah, then you know, you don't even have to think about it anymore. You know, they were never really your friends, and you know that they just did play you for a fool. But if you explain to someone how you feel and you apologize and you say what you've done and you say that, you know what, people make mistakes, guys. We are not computers. Like, we are not machines. We are humans. We have the emotional factor. And you can always explain like, listen, you know, like I sometimes like lash out as well. And I then say like, oh my God, I really like need to learn to kind of control my emotional side. But I'm very emotional, and isn't that what people should love about you, your emotional side? So nothing that a conversation cannot fix, I'd say. Okay, interesting one and a long one. Hi Tamara. So, dating my former boss. We met at work, fell in love, and I have been in a relationship for 2 years. I left the company and I'm now working somewhere else. My dilemma, I love him, I really do, but I'm so scared of all the hate and I'm gonna get from everyone working at the old company. I know this shouldn't affect me, but in the fashion industry it is so important to have all the important buyers, etc. on your side. I know they would hate the fact that him and I are a couple, and in a way I get it. I'm 15 years younger than him. Also, some of my friends still work there and they wouldn't approve either. The age gap and everything that comes with it. Usually I would say F it and just go public, but with this I just can't, because I'm so afraid of what's gonna happen. You know, I can't risk having a bad reputation, and especially where I come from, this is not well looked at. He has a really high position at the company and I worked under him. I mean, what if they thought he favored me? I know he never did, but they would think that. I worked my ass to get where I am today. I'm just so scared. And how can I forget to mention, I actually want to go back to the company in about 5 years because I love it there. He would never ever want a relationship at work, so I wouldn't be able to go back. My chances to become very successful there are high. For me, career is everything, and how could it not? I want to be independent and make my parents proud, which I know I will, but I just think the relationship could affect that. And forgot to mention, we kept our relationship a secret for the past 2 years, and I'm now considering to go public in a few months. Not an easy one, huh? I would 1000% go public with the relationship, because what's the point of having the most successful career if you love a man that you cannot be with? What's the point of all the money in the world if you can't be with the one you love? There's no point. Like, for me, career is very important. You guys know that, how ambitious I am, what kind of goals I have. But oh my God, I would never put career in front of love in a way, even though I think you should never be asked to, right? So what I would do is sit down with your boo and say, listen, okay, do you love me like crazy, like I love you? If the answer is yes, and if he is committed to you, then you say like this: coming out in this relationship for a woman is much harder than for a man, because man is like, oh my God, you got the hot girl, the 15 years younger, applause, well done. For a woman, it's like, oh my God, you slept with your boss. And like you said, the reputation can be like, you know, affected. But honestly, you know where the reputation is going to be affected? With small-minded people who don't understand that love can happen anywhere and at any time. And I mean, I've heard so many of these stories where people date their bosses, and I never think ever that this is affecting the way, the decision-making process, the favoring. Is he a good boss? Because if he is a very good boss, like very authoritative, very fair to everybody, they will know that he's not favoring anybody. I also think that you should tell him that you absolutely want to go out public with this relationship, but that you have certain concerns and that you think that it will affect you returning to the company in 5 years' time. And how does he feel about it? You know what? Maybe that company will not be then the one for you, but you will have a very healthy, happy relationship, which will drive you to even better companies, to even bigger openings that will give you even more knowledge. You will have so much insight through your partner about that world that you'll be able to work in another world. You know what I mean? Like, you will just be able to prosper, because when you are emotionally fulfilled, and happy, that's the most important thing. I think that, you know, people like to judge other people's relationships, but I never let it ever get to me. I would not care what other people say. I would tell your friends that if they're your friends and they're judging you, that's ridiculous. I would never judge my friends for dating their bosses. This is just so... Love happens anywhere. It can happen anywhere. Like, these people who judge where the love happens either never experience true love or are just, I don't know, like need therapy. That's basically it. I would go public with it, but I would speak about all of my concerns to my partner, who you've been already with for 2 years. So he should understand, and he will show you in that conversation if he is the partner or if he is just not what you think he is. You know, he will show up. He will show his true colors. So that's my advice. Well, this video is going to be so long, guys, and I'm not even done. Shall we stop the first half here and maybe continue in the second half? Do you want to see more of this? I need a pause because it's been more than an hour that I've been filming. Okay, let's continue later.